ChatGPT's inconsistent moral advice influences users' judgment. Okay, so there are two parts to this study, right? So the first is that ChatGPT gives inconsistent moral advice, right? And the second part is that it influences users' judgments, right? So those are the two things to look out for. All right, let's take a look at the abstract. ChatGPT is not only fun to chat with, but it also searches information, answers questions, and gives advice. With consistent moral advice, it can improve the moral judgment and decisions of users. Unfortunately, ChatGPT's advice is not consistent. Nonetheless, it does influence users' moral judgment, we find in an experiment, even if they know they are advised by a chatting bot, and they underestimate how much they are influenced. Thus, ChatGPT corrupts rather than improves its users' moral judgment. While these findings call for better design of ChatGPT and similar bots, we also propose training to improve users' digital literacy as a remedy. Transparency, however, is not sufficient to enable the responsible use of AI. All right, let's take a look at the results. Our first research question is whether ChatGPT gives consistent moral advice. Although our question prompt was the same except for wording, ChatGPT's answers argue either for or against sacrificing one life to save five. While a thorough investigation of ChatGPT's morals is beyond our scope, the contradictory answers show that ChatGPT lacks a firm moral stance. However, this lack does not prevent it from giving moral advice. Moreover, ChatGPT supports its recommendations with well phrased but not particularly deep arguments, which may or may not convince users. Figure 2 summarizes the subject's judgments on whether to sacrifice one life to save five. The figure shows first that they found the sacrifice more or less acceptable depending on how they were advised by a moral advisor, in both the bridge and the switch dilemma. In the bridge dilemma, the advice even flips the majority judgment. Interesting. Okay. This is also true if ChatGPT is disclosed as a source of the advice. Second, the effect of the advice is almost the same, regardless of whether ChatGPT is disclosed as the source in both the dilemmas. Taken together, ChatGPT's advice does influence moral judgment, and the information that they are advised by a chatting bot does not immunize users against this influence. All right, so I went over to ChatGPT just to see what advice that it would give me. So my question was, should I sacrifice one person to save five? And the response is different. Maybe they've tweaked the coding of the model. This is what it says. As an AI language model, it is not appropriate for me to provide a definitive answer to this question, as it involves complex ethical considerations and personal beliefs. However, I can provide you with some points to consider, right? And then it talks about utilitarianism, right? Deontological ethics, virtue ethics. So then it gives you kind of like a summary of what the three major ethical theories would tell you, right? This is what it says. Lastly, ultimately, the decision to sacrifice one person to save five is a complex ethical dilemma that requires careful consideration of various factors, including the potential consequences, moral principles, and personal values. Okay, all right. So it's no longer giving moral advice, at least for that question. Let's try another one. Let's see. Is it ever okay to cheat on your partner? Yeah, same one. As an AI language model, I cannot make moral judgments or provide personal opinions. Let's try another one. Is torture ever justified? Hmm, same thing. All right, so here are some final thoughts. First, the study just reminds me of how impressionable we are as a species. Like, it makes me wonder how students are affected by their philosophy professors. You know, like, do my students make different ethical decisions because they took my class versus someone else's class? I'm not sure. Second, I wonder how ethical education would have affected the people's decisions. Meaning that instead of getting moral advice like they did, like what if they got a quick summary of the different ethical theories, like what ChatGPT gives you now, and then compare that group to a control group which receives no ethical education at all, right? And see how they do. That'd be interesting. Yeah. And third, I wonder if ethics professors would be affected in similar ways. Like, are ethics professors just as impressionable? Like, I'm not sure. I like to think that we wouldn't change our decision based on the advice that we were given, but who knows, right? Okay, I think I'm going to end it here. I hope you learned something interesting, and I'll see you all next time.